This brings us back to talking about people like Teresa Helm, Annie Farmer. Okay, their names are very significant. Even Epstein. Okay, he wrote, this guy named Epstein wrote a book called The Sports Gene, and Kiki Doe. Now, Jennifer Helm looks like Maria to some degree when she was in high school. And these females who were molested and abused and so on and so forth, they were around high school age-ish, right? One of them was 14 when she started giving Epstein's massages, right? Some, as the story goes, were 17, so they're around Maria's age at the time, and I believe she was 16 and I was 16. Now, I was dating someone around that time as well who, her name was Janu, and she had two best friends. One was Amy, one was Teresa. So with the helm, it goes back to the helmet, right? The Knights of the Clan. You'll see that I'm right about this shortly. You'll see that there's too many connections for it to be a coincidence. If you understand probability and statistics, you'll see that I'm right. So Teresa Helm is connected to Jade Helm and the helmets of the clan, which goes back to the K words, like the Kleagle. And they said Ayak. I say, are you a Klansman? The KKK, right? K words. And the K in gang lingo means killing, right? See, BK, blood killer, CK, crip killer, what have you. Right? GDK, gangster disciple killer, what have you. That's also significant here, but I want to limit the scope of this video, okay, because there's a lot of things this connects to. So Jade Helm goes back to Jade. Okay, so Teresa Helm connects to Jade Helm because of the helms, right? And Jade Helm is has to do with some kind of operation that was supposedly taking place in Texas to take away the guns or take away their rights or something. It's been a while. I don't want to take the time to look up that. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. So, but Jade is a Mortal Kombat character, and she's gorgeous. And Teresa Helm looks fairly similar to her as well. It's almost like a mix between Maria Mello and Jade from Mortal Kombat, which goes back to MK Ultra. MK Ultra, your alter and ultra, and MK, the MK's in common there. And notice it's a video game about martial arts, and it's also about military. There's a guy named Jax in the military, or in the police, and he has a military shape. And Sonya Blade, and she's in the police and military shape. So my best friend at the time, right? He dated Teresa, and he also dated Sonya. You'll see that I'm right here. Bear with me. So when we're talking about the clan, we're talking about people whose main kind of enemies in popular culture were leopard men. And the leopard is like another name for the panther. So there's a black panther. When you think of leopard, you think of the black and yellow leopard. But there's also, it's basically the black panther is basically just a black leopard. And the leopard society is probably the most famous and largest martial arts society in African history. It basically spans the whole continent. And it also connects to Dionysus, who's considered a young Zeus, who's said to ride a panther, is what they usually refer to it as, when it's a leopard, right? I guess just another word for leopard. And it's yellow and black, going back to the sun and the darkness. Now, some people believe that you can mix good and evil. You can't. Okay, that's stupid, right? God separated the light from the darkness. It's a story for another day. So the clan had all these K words, and they had these positions. You can look it up. You'll see that I'm right. Look up the goblin position, or the ghoul position, or the grand dragon, or the grand wizard, or the Kleagle, which is a play on words for the eagle. The clan mixed with an eagle, which goes back to the American eagle and the eagle of the 32-degree eagle, I believe it is, of Freemasonry, where its head is directed to one way or the other. Now, I don't have all the answers for everything that Freemasonry teaches or everything the clan teaches. A lot of the information here comes from my research. I'm a researcher. Okay, I put researching things that matter most far above IT. I don't consider information technology or computer science that important. I put my research above that. And I used my very profoundly intelligent brain to make sure that the facts are clear here. I'm one of the people who made the most videos about the Great Conspiracy, and I dealt in facts, and so my videos were buried in favor of the videos that people who are the assets of the government made. Okay? And over the years, I've been vindicated as far as I'm concerned 100%. I didn't make any crazy conspiracy theory arguments. Everything I've been talking about has been basically proven true over the years. Okay, and I took on a lot of stigma and heat. I've lost girlfriends over this. I've been blacklisted. I've been targeted all my life. So anyway, so again, in case you missed it the first time, Teresa Helm looks like Maria Mello mixed with Jade from Mortal Kombat. Maybe it was Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat 1, the video game. Okay. Now, Kiki is what I was called when I was a kid, right? Because the story goes that I used to say to my mom, and I remember this vaguely, I used to say, key, because we'd go to the toy store or something. I'm waiting in the car. I'm like, look, give me the key ahead of time so we can get to this toy store faster. Because I want to wait in the car, and I'm all excited. So I say, key. So my name was Kiki. And so, they get the John Doe, the Jane Doe, and so there's the Kiki Doe. Now, there's various connections there. I don't want to speak on anything I don't know for sure, but to some degree, they seem to be, they harass me by suggesting that they're going to, they're changing my teeth somehow. And I know that's a controversial claim. It's the fumes are doing something to change the teeth. Last time I was at the dentist, they noticed that there was a shift in some of my teeth. And part of how you identify someone is with the teeth. Now, there's other ways to identify people, but for whatever reason, they're harassing me, and there's some kind of conspiracy theory out there or something where they say that there's people have, that they're replacing people. It's been a while since I heard that one, but they were saying that they're replacing celebrities or something like this. Okay. And during the course of this, I have seen people who look alike, and again, that female looks like Maria to some degree, and she also has that kind of blue, whatever it's called, eyeshadow, whatever it is they put on the eyelids that she used to wear, that she looked the best in that I've ever seen, right? Again, I'm over Maria Mello. She's probably married, 5 kids. I don't know. Okay, I don't care. There was also another female I had a crush on around that time named Leanna, who was part of the targeting, and I seen her again in Santa Cruz. If you have any questions about it, put in the comments. I want to limit the scope of this to this Epstein stuff here. Now, a person named Epstein wrote a book called The Sports Gene, and in it is a guy who's shaped more like the military, but a kind of more black shape, and it's this big black guy, he's sprinting. And so there's a lot of people who are into the Da Vinci Code and stuff, the Vitruvian Man, where they're looking at the symmetry of somebody, the body shape, the genes, right? They're very much, they're eugenicists, they're scientific racists, they're people who believe that what they think that they should do is to pretend that their genes are superior, like across the board, right? It's kind of like people say, that's good German stock, or that's good English stock, yes. And it's what the eugenicists would say for years, sterilizations in this country, and it connects to Planned Parenthood and the American Eugenics Society, and on and on and on. Okay, and it also connects to globalism and Hitler and Nazi eugenics and also the Jews who were also part of the eugenic movement early on. Okay. And there's a bunch of people wanting people to, bow their heads to them in secret societies who are cult people with fancy titles and silly titles in Freemasonry and in the Klan and other groups, cults, what have you, Keith Rainier, when he's branding those women. And so there's a lot of connections here. But when you look at how does it connect to me specifically, why are they doing this? Well, because some of this stuff takes place in California, right? The Keith Rainier stuff, certainly Epstein, must have been in California all the time. There's a lot of connections there. It's one of the main cult places I say in the whole world. You have Hollywood, you have the Bohemian Grove, you have the Grand Lodge of San Francisco, you have this massive LGBT political agenda that's taking place here, the trannies in sports. You had people historically saying there's no gay agenda, no gay agenda. Next thing you know, there's child sex changes, trannies in sports, children being taught LGBT sex ed, and it's this huge controversy that causes the left to lose so many elections that the government is very red these days. Supreme Court, Congress, the executive branch, you name it. Mainstream history, a lot of those guys who said there's no gay agenda, their foots are in their mouth right now. They look so stupid. And I also warned people, I said, look, there is a gay agenda. I'm in California. I'm like a couple hours away from the Bohemian Grove. I can tell you with certainty that there is a gay agenda, that even Richard Nixon, and I'm not a conservative, when he was at the Bohemian Grove, he said it was the most gay thing. He used a derogatory term for homosexual, ladies and gentlemen. He said the most F-word thing with a Y that he's seen in his life. Okay, and the Bohemian Grove is a very significant business club. The Bohemian Club, the Bohemian Grove. And the owl is also significant to the occult. There's the Athena, there's people who have connected it to Egypt. That's a story for another day. So, because I'm the idea that Christ returning in the Bible is superimposed on, the satanic ritual of abuse is aimed at me. Now let's stop for a second here. For those of you who are like, oh, I want to turn this off. Well, I'll prove this in a second. You feel angry about it? You feel like he can't say that, he shouldn't say that? You want to take away my free speech? Okay, explain this to me. Why is marital scrambled? And Christ is called the bridegroom. For example, in Psalm 19, we see that the bridegroom. Martial is marital scrambled, and Christ is the bridegroom. Martial arts, M-A, the acronym spelled backwards is M, just like Ebo spelled backwards is O-B, M. And God told Moses to say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. I am who I am what I will be, I am that I am, is the various translations that we see there in the Old Testament, in the Bible. And the Jews also read that, so do the Muslims. It's a huge thing. I am who I am in reality, the way, the truth, and the life. We also see Bethlehem, right? Belt-he-ham. It's a play on words for Belt-he-ham. Champion has the word ham in it. Abraham. Abra is another way of saying Abba. Okay. Father Ham. And see abracadabra goes back to Abraham. And it has something to do with, the occult uses it various ways here. They use it in ways that I don't know. One of the ways they use it is they say that they're arguing that because they're the cult of the flesh, most of the time, at least in the occult, if not all the time, in a sense all the time, because witchcraft is forbidden, it's mere psychology and chemistry, they're arguing that they can twist God's promise to Abraham when he promised that through his seed that people would be blessed, that people, through his seed that people, God through his seed would bless the whole world, that they would be given special status, what have you. We see in Paul's letters in Galatians 3 and 4 that he verifies what is said, if you're a Christian. He says that the seed was Christ. It's me, not the Jews by the flesh. It's the children of the promise. The children of the flesh refer to Hagar and Mount Sinai and Jerusalem of this world. We see that in Galatians 4, and Jerusalem in the heavens, and the children by the promise, the children of the Spirit, refers to me. And we say in Galatians 3:28, there's no Jew or Gentile, you're all one in Christ Jesus. We see that in Proverbs 17, a prudent servant will rule over a disgraceful son. We see that in the parable of the tenants, I believe it is, where it says the kingdom of heaven will be taken away from you and given to a people to perform its works. And we see that in with John the Baptist when he says, from these stones that God can raise up children for Abraham. So this is one of the places that I say the vast majority of religious Jews probably disagree with Christians about, unless they're a very occult Christian. That goes back to the split between a regular Jewish person to some degree. I mean, not all Jews. Most regular Jews who aren't Zionists, political Zionists, are on the wrong side of the debate here, from what I gather, from what I've seen here. Certainly by their actions, right? They're helping them do what they're doing. But there's a difference in opinion there. Some people believe that everything's flesh-based and that the Jews should rule the fleshly world. Some people believe that there's a new heaven and a new earth in the spiritual realm. And this has everything to do with this, and everything to do with abracadabra, right? It means something to the effect of they create as they wish, as they think, what have you. As opposed, goes back to the self-direction of humanity, which Freemasonry is about. As opposed to God dictates what you're supposed to do and you're supposed to obey. For example, Luke 6:46, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? And John 14, the one who obeys the commands of God, is the one who loves me. If you love me, keep my commands. John 14. So to a Christian who's actually read the Bible and actually cares enough to understand what the greatest commandment is getting at, it's obeying God. If you love God, you're going to obey his commandments. You're not going to disobey God. That doesn't make any sense. If you love God, you obey. And we see that in John 14. And we see it as the greatest commandment, loving God with all your being. So there's that disagreement there. And when you're talking about martial arts, you're talking about mind, body, soul, and spirit. And a lot of Jews and white people are like nerdy people, frat people. Historically, they mocked martial arts just like they mocked black people, which is part of why the Klan did the black face. If you read the book, the Fighting for Honor, the history of African martial arts in the transatlantic slave trade by T.J. Dush Obi, who's an assistant professor, PhD. You see that there were these African martial arts societies, mostly in Brazil. In America, they were suppressed to the extreme by extreme force, and that force eventually would include the Ku Klux Klan. but they had a lot more power in Brazil. And that's why capoeira emerges. It's an African martial art that Brazilians adopted from the slaves who come here come there and doing the martial arts. That is very key in this here. That's very key. That's why so many black people are into the occult, because they got on the wrong side of the debate, and they started backing up the Talmudic and Zohar and Kabbalah Jews and the occult white people. Now, you might not believe in these things, but there are millions of people here in America that do, and perhaps hundreds of thousands of them here in California alone that do. That they believe that they should commit to those things, and so on and so forth. And that is key in the Epstein case and how it connects to this. Because when you're talking about secret societies and groups of criminals, you're almost always talking about the same thing. Look at the occult imagery in the Aryan Brotherhood and the BGF and Mexican Mafia and the Western family. When you're talking about, and I've been threatened over this, mind you, exposing the prison gang symbolism. When you're talking about this type of stuff, okay, you're talking about Freemasonry and the occult as well. You're talking about the things that they talk about, occult symbols. And there's a whole occult criminal underworld here in America and abroad. And the guys who are involved in that are absolutely involved in the CIA. They're involved in the intelligence community. They're involved in law enforcement. Look at all the Freemasons who are police officers. Look that up. They're also involved in the Epstein ring. Those guys still are friends with each other. They still do business with each other. Lots of those guys, just like with Keith Rainier. Okay, they didn't arrest everybody in the NXIVM cult. A lot of those guys are still doing, they're up to their old tricks, like the mafia, right? You arrest a few of them, okay, the business didn't stop. They're still going. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't want me to say that, but it's the truth. And how many people are being abused right now because people play dumb about this? I mean, you're the top martial arts, you're not going to play dumb about this. Martial arts is about character. The Bible says put a lamp on its stand. I'm not going to shrink to fit like some kind of punk. I am the Lion of Judah. I am the Falcon of Africa. I'm the top martial arts. I'm the leopard of leopards. Okay? And not a leopard in a Luciferian, mark of the beast way. But in a righteous African martial artist way. So you see how this stuff connects together. Now, I've went way over time. I don't think I'll be able to upload this video until I get home or something, because it takes up a lot of space on my phone, and they hack my phone. They play all kinds of tricks and games there. Okay? But keep in mind, when they say trick or treat and they call females tricks, okay, a horror movie, a horror or movie. This is more than just Epstein. The problem is bigger than it's been described in the news. The problem involves millions of people all over the world, tens of millions of people, maybe even hundreds of millions of people. There are millions of generational Satanists, generational occultists in America. And that's why this gang stalking stuff is going on, this satanic ritual abuse. For example, if you said there was a bunch of Serenials in Los Angeles that were doing gangster stuff, who would doubt that you're telling the truth? There's like 100,000 of those guys, and there's a lot of those guys. Okay? That's what's going on, right? Well, duh. Now, when there's tens of millions of generational occultists and Satanists in America, you think it's crazy to say there's satanic ritual abuse going on? And organized group stalking and group harassment? Look, if there isn't, my goodness, what the hell? It is far more likely that a cow can naturally jump over the moon than for millions of generational Satanists to not be coming together in any shape or form, to any degree, okay, for them not to be harassing and stalking people. They're gonna do that. That's what they do. Like the Klan, that's who they are.